PhD student in history, and I did my undergrad in history from the College of Letters and Science at Berkeley as well. Yeah.
Thank you, Allyson. Next one will be Junna.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Junna, and currently I'm a second-year student at Berkeley, and I'm studying CS and Cog Sci.
Okay, thank you. And next one be Caroline.
Hi, I'm Carolyn. I'm class of 2020, and so I just recently graduated. I studied business and political economy at Berkeley, and I was part of the Haas School of Business, and I'm currently working as a consultant at McKinsey and Company in San Francisco.
Awesome. Meghan.
Hi everyone, I'm Meghan. I'm a junior studying industrial engineering, so in the College of Engineering, and I am working in finance this summer.
Okay, awesome. Kyle, you are the minority in terms of gender. Thank you.
So hi everyone, my name is Kyle. I'm also a junior. I'm studying electrical engineering and computer science, and I'll be graduating a year early, and I'll be working at Goldman Sachs full-time starting in July.
Well, which location?
New York City office.
Awesome. Okay, so I forgot one thing before I go into a quick introduction of myself and our company. So Kyle, what's one word to describe Berkeley in your eyes?
I think it's not really one word. It's kind of like a hyphenated word, but it's called battle tested. I think for anyone coming out of Berkeley, you're really are battle tested and ready for industry and whatever challenges that you may face. So I guess like that's my one word.
Battle tested. Awesome. Okay, guys, this is being recorded, okay? And will be shared via our YouTube channel, okay? Meghan.
Yeah, I think for my word, somewhat similar, mine would be like adulthood. I think Berkeley, I'm sure we'll touch upon it later as well, but I think Berkeley grows like you both like academically, professionally, but also in a lot of life skills, you're kind of thrown into like life immediately compared to a lot of, I think, other universities. So yeah, adulthood.
Adulthood, love that word, okay? A college life is to bridge your childhood and your adulthood. Very good, okay? Caroline.
I think the first word that comes to mind whenever I think of Berkeley is like eccentric. I think similar, I'd echo what Kyle and Meghan said. It's just like a really interesting place full of like a lot of culture, and you never quite feel like you're being coddled. Like you definitely need to figure out how to like survive on your own, but I think you're so much better off from that. And the environment itself, I always felt like every school building felt like it was dropped from a different universe, and the people there are super interesting. And so, and being surrounded by like Berkeley and Telegraph and Oakland, it's just like a really cool place to be. And you really come out of the other end like pretty like a fully fleshed out person.
Awesome. Junna.
Okay, the one word that I would use to describe not just Berkeley, but like my experience at Berkeley would probably be like an adventure, because so far I've only been on campus for 1.5 semesters due to COVID, which is pretty sad. But those 1.5 semesters were really, really fun. But also like there were times that it was like the schoolwork did get challenging, but I think that's like a part of the whole experience. And I'm not even halfway done with my experience at Berkeley yet. So yeah, I would say an adventure so far.
Okay, I really hope that all of you are, whoever who's going back to school, that you will continue with your adventure there. Awesome. Allyson.
Yeah, so if I want to describe Berkeley, I would say Berkeley is very diverse in terms of both the backgrounds of students and faculty, as well as academic opportunities. Berkeley also has a very diverse kind of offerings of extracurricular and also like internships. So whatever you like and whatever you want to pursue, you can always find some kind of community here.
Awesome, diverse. Okay, great. Well, I'm very impressed because none of you came up with the same word. That's good. That's good. Lovely. Okay, so I will make a very quick introduction about myself and why I'm hosting this. So first, I'm a proud Berkeley mom, and I have an older son that's a class of 2023, a sophomore, CS in letter science, okay? And that's my older son. My younger son just got accepted by Berkeley, Cal. However, he's having some anxiety about which school to choose. He has a few choices on his plate, which is a good problem, yeah? But next few weeks, he has to make a decision. And I'm also hosting about 200, almost 300 accepted parents, including some existing parents in my WeChat group. Most of them are American-born Chinese and also parents from mainland China, okay? And that's what actually one of the reasons that, triggered me, because a lot of parents have questions. And I've actually been working with Berkeley students very closely, not really with my son. He doesn't want to work for me, but actually I've been working with Junna. Junna teaches machine learning for us, okay? And at NextStream, and she will teach machine learning for the students in Asia this summer. Okay, thank you, Junna. Okay, so I will very, very quickly to share a couple of things, and then we go. So this is our the flyer, and okay, let me see, where did I share? Okay, so first, my name, Dan Pan. I'm the founder of Hattie.com, co-founder of a tech institute we named NextStream to teach machine learning and computer engineering, and also chief growth officer for Allyson, which is a company based in China, and it's funded by Qualcomm Venture. It's a US company, and by EDU. It's a Chinese company, New Oriental, but over 30 billion traded on New York, I think on NASDAQ or New York Stock Exchange, okay? And so why I founded Hattie. So here it is, a little bit of relevance to the students and the parents. Actually, we have Berkeley student. Eric is interning with us. I founded this company because a lot of teachers, they were impacted by COVID-19 last year, and a lot of them could not go back to school. And they've been teaching with us for our school, not teaching parents and students directly. And their hours were affected. So last summer, we started this project called HOT, Help Our Teacher, okay? And right now we have this collaborative platform where we collaborate with our very, very experienced teachers. And a lot of them tend not to go back to the physical school because of the health issues of the COVID-19. And now they can teach with us in the US time, not only just getting up in the morning to teach the Chinese students, okay? And also let me see about us. Yeah, sorry, okay. So we have this collaborative platform, collaborating with teachers. We have students working together. We have 4 of them, 2 high school, 2 college, working together to develop a product requirement document for the whole entire Hattie.com. So everything you see here is done by student for the student, okay? By student, by them, all of them, they came up with 30-page requirements, and we have engineering intern, Ryan. He pretty much single-handed did the whole thing, but now we have a full-time 6 engineers working on this. And by the summertime, we're gonna have a very beautiful, hopefully kind of AI-based intelligent booking system. We're going through this. And we also have Leah, that worked with us last semester from UCLA. And this semester we have Helen also coming from Berkeley, and we also have a middle school students. It's about 10 of them, okay? So that's about Hattie, so I'm not gonna go through much. And we have summer programs for US and for Asia listed here. So one thing I really want to talk about the summer program is there's one program that's, let me see, I think it's a runaway. Okay, this program is targeted for really geared toward younger adults, 17 and above. So we'll have a leadership training, and a few spots are already being taken by our intern team. And Mr. Dixon is my executive coach. He has been coaching me for 10 years, Harvard educated background, very intelligent person. And we have his YouTube on our channel, Hattie.com. Okay, that's about it. So, and okay, one more thing about us with here. This is our my another company. I have two companies with Mr. Morrow of Canyon Crest Academy in San Diego, #1 public school in California. We, Babak, we three of us co-founded this company. In the summer, we'll start teaching machine learning and computer engineering. Okay, that's about it. And you can Google Allo7. It's pretty big. It's everywhere. Okay, so I'm gonna stop sharing here, and then let's go to the Q&A. Okay, so we have a lot of questions about, I don't know, 80 people registered and submit their questions. First question will be, let me look at it quickly, making sure I don't make a mistake. 1 second. Okay, I think I remembered first, and now my computer just locked on me. Okay, no worry. The first question is, how easy to register class at Berkeley? Okay, so who wants to volunteer? Otherwise, I will just randomly call your names, okay? I see Meghan is smiling. You wanna take that question?
Yeah, I can go for it.
Thank you.
So for classes, I'll say like, I think in general, public schools, it's always going to be hard for sure. I guess like I can kind of see both sides because my older brother also went to Berkeley, actually graduated class of 2020. He was he was a Regent scholar. So that means he always enrolled like earlier, which means like he never really had issues with enrollment. But if you aren't like Regent scholars, or like I believe the MET program also has like early enrollment, then normally your class, like you will kind of have to plan like a few different like plans. Like I normally have like A, B, and C, like different classes I might substitute if I know I won't be able to get it or I see that it's filling up. For my major, and depending on your major, you might also sometimes have reserved seating. So my major is like a pretty small major on campus, around 50 students per class. So it's pretty small, and all our classes usually have reserved seating. But even so, like sometimes the upperclassmen like will be able to enroll like earlier than the lowerclassmen will. So they'll be able to get the class before like a lot of us are able to. Obviously, like at some point, I know I'll probably be able to get it. But enrollment is definitely like a bit of like something that you'll have to like learn over time. I don't think it's like something that should be stopping you from choosing Berkeley though, for sure, because it's a small problem, I think, and you eventually should be able to take the classes that you need to take.
Okay, so that's good. For sure, you'll be able to take your class. It's just a matter of timing, right? Okay, that's great. Okay, so there are a lot of questions, and next one is, can I change my major at Berkeley? Who has changed the major at Berkeley? None of you have done? Okay, so I will pick Caroline. You want to answer the question?
Yeah, I don't have a lot of firsthand experience on this, but I don't think it's very difficult to do. It's a matter of like, well, have you taken the right prereqs, and like what time length are you taking them in order to get them done in time? But like the actual act of like switching it isn't terribly difficult, especially if you're doing something that's like pretty adjacent to the original major. So I know a lot of like people in the design community that switched from CS to cognitive science because it was more aligned with their interests. And I think given that like those prereqs have a lot of overlap, it wasn't very difficult to do. But obviously, if you want to switch from like something super humanities based to something really technical, you need to like plan in advance of that you've gotten the prereqs done for both.
Okay, I see.
I'll add on to that. Basically, so when you get admitted into Berkeley, you're admitted into a college. So the biggest college, I think, is called College of Letters and Science. If you want to change majors in between your college, it's very simple. Like as Carolyn said, you just have to take a couple classes, make sure you're on track to graduate. But if you're if you get admitted, say as a CS major, and you try to switch into electrical engineering, that's almost impossible. So switching cross college is almost impossible to do.
Okay, so don't try to get into letter and science and then say, okay, I want to do engineering. It's very hard, right? Okay.
I actually have one more thing to add on to that. I believe like changing from LNS to COE it's hard for sure, but it's not like impossible. I know some people who have, but changing from CS to EECS, I think is actually like you cannot change into EECS unless you are in COE originally. So you could be like a different engineering major and you can switch to EECS, but you cannot be outside of the COE like college and change into EECS, just because I think in the past a lot of students had changed from like CS to EECS, and like they tried to like divert that and have students directly apply instead.
Okay, I see, cross college and CS to EECS, got it, yeah. Okay, so how to double major at Berkeley? Allyson, you've been at Berkeley for years, yeah. Have you double majored?
Yes, I double majored in undergrad, and I think it's actually not hard. And I have met a lot of people who double majored, or even I have met people who triple majored. I would say that a good way to it's really crucial to plan early. You also want to know the course requirements for each major and make sure to speak to your academic advisor about the course requirements. Sometimes there is also some flexibility for overlaps, so make sure to prepare early. And for especially like if you're looking for course registration related help, talking to the advisor is really helpful, especially when you're trying to finish all the electives for the double major. You also have the choice of doing like a major and a minor. So if you feel like your major is already quite demanding, you're just doing a minor purely out of interest, it's also possible to just do a minor. So there is a lot of options, and I think checking with department requirements and also try to, if you're really concerned about like how to register courses in time to meet all the requirements, try to go to some campus initiatives like Golden Bear Orientation. If you're an orientation leader, they allow you to register early. So I think, I don't think it's hard to double major. It's just crucial to plan early.
Okay, what's your double major, Allyson?
I did history and I also did Chinese.
Oh, lovely. I see. That's great. Okay, sounds good. Then, is it easy to get research opportunities at Berkeley? And this is mainly for undergraduate, I think. So who has done research as an undergraduate? Want to take it? Okay, Kyle?
I think research, there's like two ways to really get into it. So a lot of people who go into Berkeley, they came in doing research in high school. So obviously, if you have previous research experience, professors are more drawn to you because they don't have to like walk you through the whole steps of research and all the process. The other way to really get into research is if you do well in class and you get on course staff. So course staff is like your tutors, your academic interns. Basically, you help out with the class, and that way you're able to develop like a more personal connection with the professor. And from there, you can easily get into research. And I guess like my background, I've been in a couple research labs. The one I'm currently in right now, it's called Berkeley RISE Lab. It's like a CS machine learning based research lab for like autonomous vehicles.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so next question. Now I'm going to ask Junna. Do my professor know me?
Okay, I'll be honest, my professors don't know me, but I think in CS, the class sizes are all around like what is it called? I guess the lower level, like lower division class sizes are all around 1,000-ish students. So it's pretty unrealistic for professors to like know every student, but it's like that doesn't mean that you're like not really getting like that one-on-one interaction, because there's like they hold a lot of discussion sections with like UGSIs or undergraduate what is it, like kind of teachers-ish, but there's also like office hours that the professors hold, so you can go and talk to the professors if you want to. Like there's not really anything stopping you from like getting to know your professors, but I'll be honest, my professors don't know me.
Okay, that's fine. You can still get CS if you don't know, if your professor does not know you. Okay, that's fine. Okay, awesome. Okay, so that's pretty much all the popular questions. Oh, last one. How big the size of Berkeley classes? Maybe Caroline. How big? Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to add on to the previous question that I think as you go up or like become like a junior or senior, I think the class sizes like do start getting a bit smaller. You take more classes with more specialization where you might get to know the professor. So like I had a pretty good relationship with this one like Chinese history and Japanese history professor, and we like had lunch and like met outside of class. So and I think like similar things are like possible within like CS and EECS as well. But it like probably in the intro courses that's not going to be the case, and you'll probably have like several hundred, several K kids in your class. In terms of class size, like so similarly, like I mentioned, these like when you're a freshman, sophomore, like class sizes can range from like several hundred to several thousand, or like up to 1,000, 2,000 kids. But I think that definitely starts to change when you hit like junior year. And I think like for me in Haas, our class sizes never went above like, generally didn't go above like 50 kids. So we got a good amount of like FaceTime with our professors if that's something you wanted.
Okay, that's good. How about PhD classes, Allyson?
PhD classes are really small. So usually my department has classes that range from like 5 to 10 people. And I think that for PhD requirements, if you're doing something like if you're a sociologist, or if you are doing like math, maybe you will share a statistics class with multiple departments. In that case, the class could get bigger, but I don't think it's ever going to exceed like 20, 30 people. So in grad school, the classes are really small unless you're going to school in like, I guess law school is a little bigger. But generally PhD seminars are very small.
Okay, awesome. That's good. And okay, so how about one more question on the academic side? And there are a couple more actually. Berkeley culture, battle tested. I think Kyle is saying eccentric, love the word. And sometimes I hear cutthroat. Any comments? Is Berkeley culture cutthroat? Kyle, among guys?
I wouldn't say it's cutthroat. I think it's like you really need to have a mentality where you need to have a good support group. So normally, at least for EECS and CS, once you get to upper div classes, it's really hard to take all the courses and do all the homeworks by yourself. You really need to like work together and brainstorm. So if you don't really have that support group, it gets a little demoralizing, I will say. But I wouldn't say it's cutthroat. Like generally people want what's best for each other. Like my friends, obviously, if there's an internship opportunity and I have that application link, I'm obviously going to help them out as well. So it's not like people go like sabotaging each other by any means. It's a competitive but healthy culture.
Okay, I love that. Okay, I want to ask Meghan.
Yeah, I also agree with what Kyle said. I don't really think it's cutthroat from my experience. I've heard of like some very small like stories or cases where like people have met like a classmate that was a bit like strange or wanted to do something that was a bit strange, but I don't know if that has to do with Berkeley or just in college you're going to meet some individuals that are out of like the norm. In general though, I feel like it's not very cutthroat. I think what people refer to when they speak of Berkeley in terms of being very competitive is not necessarily like because students are deliberately out to get each other, but I think more of the fact that all the students are very motivated, and when you see a lot of other students that are really motivated, you feel kind of that pressure or that stress that you want to do well as well. And that kind of feeling, I think, is what a lot of students refer to when they refer to the pressure and stress from school. And obviously academics are definitely going to be hard. And so it's a lot about balancing like your academics plus like recruiting for professional and also trying to maintain a social life. Like all of those things added together, I think creates like a certain amount of stress, but I wouldn't say it's like cutthroat directly from student to student.
Okay, I love the clarification. Yeah, sounds good. Okay. Then, and how about GPA deflation? Okay, Junna, you want to take that one? Worry about GPA deflation?
Honestly, I guess it's like slightly more deflated than other schools, but I don't feel like there's really GPA deflation much. It's just like, I don't know. I feel like the classes are graded pretty reasonably. And as for the CS courses, they're all binned, and I think they're all binned pretty reasonably. Like the ones that I've taken so far have like an average grade of around a B+-ish. So I feel like that's pretty reasonable, actually.
Okay, that's very good to know. Sounds good. Okay, you guys don't have to worry about too much deflation. I know quite a few probably students here, they want to go to medical school. That's a different question we'll start asking, I think in a different category. Okay, so now next to school choices. Now, the first question I will go to Caroline. I personally know you. Your mom is my dear friend. And I know you took Berkeley over UPenn Wharton School, right? And that's a top private school, business school. Why?
Yeah, so it was a really hard decision for sure at the time, and I think especially when you're a senior in high school and like the community that you're surrounded by indexes so much on prestige and like the brand name, and working all 4 years just to get that. Um, it was like really hard to think about what was actually important in life. And so for context, I had actually been to like this like summer camp at Penn um, the summer prior, and when I was there I had thought like that was my dream, especially as like a kid aspiring towards business. But I felt like I was surrounded by a lot of well, for, like really wealthy kids who like had really stacked resumes, but when you actually work with them, it, like they kind of struggle a little bit and you end up carrying the workload. And I didn't really like being in that kind of environment that was just like so much about prestige and like having things like handed to you. And I personally love California. I grew up here, and what attracted me to Berkeley was that I felt like it was a school full of people who were like really motivated and like didn't really have things handed to them and like worked for everything they had. And there's so much diversity of like students and interests here. um and like it's reflected just like the sheer amount of like extracurricular opportunities. So at the time it was like there was like an immense pressure, I feel like, from a lot of the like Asian parents in my environment, like asking my parents, like, why isn't like the decision is so obvious, like why isn't she choosing Penn? Like, is it because like her boyfriend's going to Berkeley, all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, like, people are going to think whatever they want to think about you, and you need to decide for yourself what's the best fit for you. And I like to think that regardless of the school I went to, I ended up getting the job that like I wanted at the end of the day either way, and had an incredible 4 year experience because Berkeley was the right place for me.
Thank you. Very good. Any other panel speakers? I think a lot of students here are really struggling with school choices. Allyson, did you have any? I mean, you've gone through the bachelor's and the PhDs. You must have gone through school choices throughout this quite a few years.
Yeah, thanks for the question. It was so I still remember the choices. It was definitely really tough for both times. I remember in undergrad admissions, I was choosing between Berkeley, Stanford, and Kenyon College. And I was leaning towards Kenyon College because they have a very good writing program, and I always wanted to pursue humanities. And also, they offered me scholarships. I was leaning less towards Stanford because I just felt like it wasn't a great fit. And I think Berkeley is much more, people are much less pretentious and from like privileged family backgrounds. So I chose Berkeley, and I really don't regret it because there is so much more opportunities. And although I do love the concept of liberal arts colleges, I think Berkeley is like really irreplaceable in terms of the range of people you will meet, the amount of academic opportunities, and even if you fail, you have like other choices. Whereas in the small liberal arts college, you might be very limited because there aren't many like other like options. And I think for PhD, it was a much tougher choice because I got into Yale and Harvard and Chicago, and they offered me better funding packages. Berkeley, for grad school, Berkeley's package is actually, the stipend is much less compared to Harvard and Yale, and they offer like 6-7 years, but Berkeley only offered like 5. I guess what ultimately made me stay here was I guess like finding the scholars that you want to work with, it's a different story in undergrad and grad school. And I think grad school like fit in terms of research interest is more important. Also, Berkeley's a lot of humanities and social sciences actually rank like better than Yale and Harvard. So I think overall, I would say don't be too concerned about Berkeley only ranking like number 21st or whatever. It's a public school, and it's much more important to think about like what's your style of learning, what kind of people you want to meet, and what really do you want more in your college education.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, so I think hopefully all the students here, it's more a fit from both of you. And instead of prestige, it's really instead of what you really want or what society, you think the society wants out of you. What really matters to you is what you want or what other people, how they perceive what you want, right? So, okay, good, very good. I'm gonna go to more about the little bit of a culture. Then before we come back to CS, I think the CS, there'll be tons of questions because a lot of people want to study CS just because I'm actually really running the group is on the WeChat. So you see a lot of the American born Chinese ABCs. And I think a few parents are getting up, you know, from China. So that's just the target. It's not like a Berkeley only for CS students. You can see you guys are all coming from very diverse background, but gonna be a lot more CS question. I'll save to a little bit later. So next question more about, I will jump into, I think, questions that parents really care. It's really about Berkeley safety. So I'm glad we have 4 women here or female students, right? So I see Meghan smiling, big smile. Meghan, go ahead. Is it really Berkeley safe? Were you really worried when you accepted the Berkeley offer saying, hey, I'm going to Berkeley?
I will say I was like, to a certain extent, honestly, I was a little worried. When I was making my decision, like it might seem kind of trivial, but safety for myself, plus also housing, which I'm sure will come up later as a question too, were both worries for myself because I was like, I want the whole college, like 4-year on campus experience. And obviously, unfortunately, Berkeley does not have housing guaranteed for 4 years at all. So those also kind of tied together because I thought living on campus was going to be safer than living off campus. I will say like safety definitely is something that like comes up a lot. And to be honest, like Berkeley is not a very safe city, like inherently it isn't. But over time, I really don't feel at least like unsafe normally. I don't know if it's more like I've been at Berkeley for a while, or if it's just that normally when I go about, I do like I am still careful. I'm with either friend groups at night or I try to avoid staying out too late. But I don't think it's like that big of a worry, if that makes sense, because there's a lot of things that the campus will try to do to prevent issues. So like there's like Bear Transit, which is like past they'll like you can take the school's shuttle around, or you can also like past 3 a.m. they can pick you up and drop you off anywhere, things like that. There's like Bear Walk, they'll walk you home. I've like used those a few times, but over time I just haven't felt too worried about it. There are like apps also for you to like hear about the news about anything that happens, if it's, you know, robbery or some kind of small incident, even if it's like a traffic incident, sometimes you'll get notifications. Over time, it's obviously not as big of a worry for me. My parents certainly are still worried here and there. Like they have my like location at like when I'm late at night just to like check in with me sometimes, but I personally don't think it's like a huge worry for myself.
Okay, I see. I want to hear from Kyle, our only male student. Were you worried at Berkeley?
I mean, I've seen a few things here and there that, you know, definitely shouldn't happen to college students. But I think it's really about, you know, like if you actively choose to stay safe and don't put yourself in harm's way, you won't come across any issues. Like people aren't out to like hurt you, and everyone, like there's a lot of people on the streets, so it's not like everyone's getting robbed or whatever. I think like the main things are for like people who like get robbed is like they're on their phones while walking, which is not very smart, right? Like you want to be aware of your surroundings. And then like when you walk at night, you know, walk with a group of people, don't walk alone. And then you kind of like Meghan said, you just kind of like know which parts of campus are good and which parts are bad, and you kind of avoid the bad parts and the bad streets. But like I don't think it's too bad. It's kind of part of like the Berkeley culture in the end. Like Berkeley really just throws you off the deep end and expects you to like kind of like figure things out yourself. And one aspect of that, right, is like growing up and, you know, when you go to work eventually, you're going to have to take public transit, you're going to take the bus, you're not going to have a car, it's not going to be a sheltered space. So I think from that sense, you know, it's not too bad. I don't think you should not go to Berkeley because it's unsafe.
Okay, I really like that answer. That really delved into what Meghan said, adulthood. You get into adulthood a little bit early at Berkeley. Okay, got it. Sounds good. And I have one question for Caroline. Same category, homeless people. Have you been there 3 years? That's a good 3 years on the campus for sure, right? And we were worried about homeless people, and just there are a lot of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so I think against like my family's wishes, I lived across the street from People's Park, and I would definitely advise against it because like two of my like friend groups that also lived across the street from People's Park both had their places broken into. So don't do that. I kind of weigh against like, you know, we should like be careful about like the stigma against like homeless people, that all homeless people are crazy and unstable, or out to hurt you, and like looking out for your own safety, because honestly like most of those most of the people in People's Park and like the homeless people around there are like harmless, but obviously like you should be careful in general. So I mean, the straightforward answer, yeah, there's like homeless people. Use your own judgment in like what areas you are in. Try to weigh against your like, I think, intrinsic like survival instincts and like the stigma against like that all homeless people are like violent or whatever. Because like a lot of them are just like in difficult situations, right? Like the Bay Area housing crisis is like pretty insane right now, and it's not necessarily everyone's like fault that they've been put in that position and they haven't been as like privileged socioeconomically as like a lot of people in this call likely are. I would also say that I would bring pepper spray. I had like some sort of like safety equipment. I had a taser that my mom sent me, and I never ended up needing to use it, but it definitely made me feel a bit safer. So I advise to do that.
Okay, so I think all the students are going there, hear it? Okay, especially the female students, bring a pepper spray, okay? We can get in Costco or Target, right? Pepper spray, okay. Thank you, Caroline, for great advice. Try not to rent an apartment next to People's Park, okay? Yeah. Okay, so next one, I will jump into category for non-academic life. So Junna, I know you've been there about 2 years, a year and a half on Zoom, similar to my son, but I think he's doing a lot of clubs activities. So I'm gonna ask you, is it easy to join a club?
Yeah, I think it's definitely easy to join a club, but also it depends on what type of club you want to join. So I know there are a lot of competitive CS clubs, but there's also like a lot of not super competitive CS clubs. So in my experience, in my first semester, I joined 2 dance clubs, and one of them was called AFX, and they take everyone. And then another one is called KPG, and you have to audition for that one, and they do cut people. But generally, I think it's pretty easy to join clubs. And this semester, I'm like in a club for AFX Tech, so I'm just doing like tech work for AFX, the dance club. And I did have to apply for that, and generally the CS clubs go through a few rounds. So you apply, and then they interview you. And then some other clubs, they also have like coffee chats, and like they sometimes will give you like a more technical interview too. Those are like that's like that applies for some of the big CS clubs, or like the big name CS clubs. But I think in general, if you want to like get into a club, it's not like super hard to do. Like if it's the case that you want to like get into the super hard like CS club, then yes, it may be hard. But like if you just want to join a club to like fuel your interests, I don't think that's difficult to do at all.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so don't be worried about the club competition. We'll come back to the HAS club when we are in the HAS discussion, because that's an interesting category. Making friends, Allyson, you've been there a few years now. And do you think, and you made a conscious decision even for PhD to stay at Berkeley. Have you made great friends at Berkeley? And are they like local friends, international friends? Different, colors, different backgrounds? Please share with us your experience.
Yeah, thank you for asking the question. I think that I definitely made a lot of friends, and I think, but you have to anticipate that when you enter as a freshman, you may feel a little overwhelmed at first because there are so many people. But a lot of people start with, like, if you're living in a dorm, start with your hallmates and people who live on your floor, and then start to explore like different student clubs, like the dance club people mentioned. And I think that my friends are pretty diverse. Although Berkeley has like 40% Asian American students, I definitely have like friends from different ethnic and cultural backgrounds. Some friends are because of interest or sports, and others are just like we're in like a volunteering organization. There is also like sorority and fraternities, which is more like like socialization oriented. So I wouldn't say making friends is hard, but it's like crucial to be open-minded and to expose yourself to more like different interests. Even if you have like never played sports before, if you're willing to try, then you can definitely make some friends there. So yeah.
Okay, that's great. Kyle, you're smiling. How about your experience? Why are you leaving Berkeley only 3 years? You can stay there at least 4 years, right?
I think I got all of what Berkeley has to offer very early. So I was like really fortunate to have gotten to do research in high school. So I finished like my whole research aspect, and then like touching on clubs. I think, yeah, there's like two sides of clubs. There's like the nice ones and then there's the mean ones. And I've been on like both sides now, like interviewing for clubs and as well as interviewing people. And I guess like I'll just let you know now, whether or not you get accepted into like a club has no like implication on you or your student. It's not about how qualified you are. It's about whether or not you have friends in the club. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, I think just pretty cut and dry. That's how it is for, I think Carolyn could probably also attest, for most consulting clubs, it's like your network and how well like you fit in with the club. It's not necessarily if you can case the best or if you can code the best. But for friends, most of my friends, my housemates are all EECS majors and engineering. So we usually work together for, projects and stuff. And then I also played a couple IM sports, and, that's mostly like white people, Asians, Indians. But I will say, like, you meet people in class and they're all cool. And so like, it depends on what activities you want to play and like do and partake in. And that kind of defines your friend circle.
Okay, so now we're on the topic. How about dating life? Anybody want to take that question? Is just no time to date? Caroline?
No, I think there's definitely time to date. Like, I think because there's so many kids at Berkeley, like a lot of I don't think any of my friends really had issues like dating or finding people to date. I dated my boyfriend from high school. We're like, we've been dating for like 5-6 years now, and I mean that survived the like time commitments that Berkeley demands. Like at times it was kind of hard because like I was so preoccupied with like trying to get into Haas, all my extracurriculars and schoolwork. So managing that was difficult at times, but like you can definitely make it work. Like you kind of like stagger your priorities. Like, okay, this week I'm going to focus on like this big deliverable coming up in my like consulting club, and then next week I'm going to focus on my midterm, and then like I'm going to like make sure like we get in some time to like do something nice together. But I've never heard of like anyone that had like trouble dating because like they just like didn't have the time. Usually it's because of like other factors.
I see. Meghan, I see you smiling. Any additional comments?
I think, yeah, Berkeley, you honestly like I was saying earlier, a lot of it is just about balancing everything. Obviously, there's like a lot of things to do and to try. Like I know we've touched upon like academics so far, also clubs, research. You can also like be involved on core staff at on campus as well. So there's like a lot of ways to meet people, I guess, both as friends, I guess, and for dating at the same time. Obviously you might be prioritizing your work, but it doesn't mean like you can't date. Like I think a good chunk of my friends are in relationships as well. So it's definitely manageable. Like I was saying, it's all about like balancing, like maybe, you know, like your first 2 years, you want to focus on work, and your latter 2 years, you want to focus on your relationships, whether it be dating or for friendships. But it's just a matter of like, you kind of have to lay out how you want to approach things at different points and realize like everything is a time commitment. And to not overwhelm yourself. I think it's really easy to at Berkeley because you want to try everything, but it's more worth like trying things at different points and seeing maybe you don't like it, but even that's worth it because now you know that that's kind of off your radar and you can try other things.
Awesome. Love it. Adventure. That's why the word, right? Junna is saying, trying different things. It's okay to fail. It's okay that doesn't work out. Okay, so I'm going to switch to parents are having quite a few questions coming in, but I'll go back to the question again on the registration form. Room and housing. Okay, all new students are worried that they won't get a place to live on campus. Smiling, see, Kyle, you want to go that? The room and housing.
Yeah, I think there's no issue with rooms and housing, especially Berkeley's now building a lot of big like housing complexes. And actually, like touching back, I think People's Park might get taken down and turned into student housing. So that's good, I guess, for people who want to live across from People's Park. But I think like everyone gets a housing preference form and you kind of fill it out. Everyone will get housing. It's just a matter of whether or not your housing is good. And I think everyone has their own preferences based off if they want like a more social life or a better study life or like a better dorm room cafeteria, whatever. But everyone will get housing. Like you won't be homeless.
Okay.
Wait, actually, I remember in my like second or third year, there was like an issue where there wasn't enough housing, so not all the students were guaranteed housing, and
Yeah,
at
that's the
times
year.
they were like putting like students in the like lounge room of dorms. Is that still the case, or
No.
is there
They
enough housing now?
built Blackwell Hall, which is like the new like modern like dorm room. So there's no
So
more
they have
issues
enough.
with housing.
Okay.
And then they're also building more in downtown. So like another set of units.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so Allyson, what's the average? Like, I know that we're not going to go to the Berkeley dorm, but if I rent out of off campus, how much do I need to pay on average right now?
So because of the pandemic, things are a little different because there was a lot of housing inventory, but I would say don't expect the price to be the same. Currently, I would say a 2-bedroom is about 2,600, but during a school year, it could definitely go up to 3,500. And also, like, I would advise everybody, like, in freshman year, it's a good opportunity to live in dorms. But you need to really act fast. Like, start planning the spring semester, like March of your first year, to look for housing if you want to move out of the dorms in your second year. And I usually like also just know who you want to live with, like floor mates or like friends, and then start really like looking early, visiting the apartment, be aware of people advertising like apartments that they don't have. And like Berkeley has like Eccentric portal, which is campus kind of verified listings of apartments. And if you want more modern, like luxury experience, then it's definitely like 3,500 for 2 bedrooms. And then if you're good with like older buildings, I would say each month, each person could be like 1,000 to like 1,500 if it's expensive. Yeah. Yeah, so I would say when I was an undergrad, I definitely shared a room with people, and then I was paying like 800 a month, like 700 if you're sharing a room. Yeah.
Okay, 800. So that's the bottom line, that the parents need to pay 800 for a double, right? Off campus.
Pretty much. I think that's a normal price, but I've seen people who rent like a 1 bedroom, 1 living room, and they put like 4 people in. They just basically have no living room. It's just like 4 people total, and then each person can pay like 500. But really, it depends on like your lifestyle. If you pretty much spend all the time in libraries, gyms, you don't really like, if home is just a place to shower and sleep, you can definitely like reduce the cost by sharing. But if you really study at home and you want to cook and stuff, then you need to be better prepared in terms of budget.
Okay, so I have a question, because I'm a parent, and I'm right now running a parent group, and so parents are very worried. Should parents be worried, or they should let you guys go find the housing? Because parents are out of sight, they're not in the town, they don't know where the location is, so they get so worried. Okay, so one of you, Meghan, tell me, should your parents be worried about your housing and go start calling landlords and find a place for you?
Yeah, my mom was definitely like worried, and she's just someone who she loves me, obviously, and wants like to make sure like my situation is good, but I took matters all to my own. I think it's like what I was saying with like the adulthood, like I wanted to make sure like in college like I was taking care of things on my own. Like I'm in college now, like my mom doesn't need to be doing things for me. So I found housing with my friends for sophomore year. We signed for my senior year now also as well. And so I think it's like you're going to have to do this eventually, if not in college, after you graduate. If you aren't living at home, you're going to have to find housing for yourself. And it's honestly, I don't think it's that difficult. From your, like my first apartment, we found from like my friend, an upperclassman, who he recommended us to the building. So that wasn't that difficult. This time I just like searched on Facebook for a nice place that we liked and location wise we liked. And you can all manage it on your own. Like eventually you're also going to have to do Wi-Fi and like utilities if you're living in an apartment that doesn't offer that. And I handled all of that on my own too. Like I didn't need my parents to do it for me. Like obviously they know how, but I think it's about growing and about you being able to take care of yourself and doing it yourself.
Wow, this is great. Okay, so yeah, I mean, just seeing you, all 5 of you, and you're all adults. And I know from parents' eyes, from our eyes, all of you are still children, all right, kids. So completely 2 different perspectives. But I think we should be assured. My son found his own apartment as well, and he knows whom to roommate with. So yeah, I think we should be assured that you guys can take care of it. We just have to have the, if we're paying for everything, no, I mean the housing, room and board and tuition, we just need to get the money ready, right? That's it, right? You guys smiling. Okay, so there are questions coming. I'm gonna take from on the chat. It's about conservativeness and the liberal. Okay, I think a lot of parents are here, probably more parents than the students, maybe half. Okay, so anybody wants to answer? Is there voice for being conservative? It's okay. What if I'm supporting Trump and I publicly tell people I want to vote for Trump? Will I get into trouble if I were at Berkeley because their image is too left? Okay, anybody want to take that?
Well, I can speak a little bit about it.
Yeah.
So I think there is definitely space for conservative students. In fact, there are clubs like the Berkeley College Club for Republicans, and also like Turning Point USA. There is a lot of like conservative student clubs, and there are attempts to like set up dialogues, inviting right-wing thinkers, speakers to be on campus, although there were also protests. So I would say most people are left-leaning, including your faculty, but it doesn't mean that there isn't a space for like conservative students. And most people wouldn't, your future employers wouldn't think badly of you just because you went to Berkeley, and Berkeley is like a leftist school. And I definitely think it's more important to be open-minded, no matter what political affiliation you and your family are, to be exposed to different like knowledge and different opinions, and to not like think that political opinions couldn't change. It applies to like all spectrums of political affiliation. And I would also say like people who are Christians or people who voted for Trump, it really doesn't matter. Like you really do have a place on campus. There is also a lot of like Christian fellowships, etc. So I wouldn't say you need to worry about it. But Berkeley is a left-leaning school, I will say, as compared to like maybe a school in the deep south or like yeah.
Okay, that's good. So I will assure the parents and students here, if you are Christian and you go to church and tomorrow is tomorrow, right? It's Easter holiday, right? You practice Christianity. You will have a place at Berkeley. There will be church for you to attend to, right? Okay, that's great. Okay, so there will be, so we only have about 20 minutes left. I know two of you for sure need to leave. Allyson, you need to leave, right? And Meghan, for sure, you have a hard stop. The question gonna come on the CS side and Haas. Will Junna and Kai and Caroline, will you be able to stay a couple minutes after 6:15? Okay, sounds good. Junna's good. Okay, so let's maybe get the Haas out of the way. The CS is a very, very complex subject. Okay, Haas. Okay, so there are people asking, can I double major? Can I do history? And can I be a business major? Caroline.
Yeah, it's definitely doable. They don't like advise against like double majoring in Haas. I will say though that like they make you take like a really high number of like units to fulfill the Haas degree. So it could be kind of difficult juggling the course load. And that's ultimately why like I had initially wanted to double major in Haas and political economy, but because I also wanted to, you know, still have like a decent social life and pursue my extracurriculars, I just decided like you know, this is an area where I might like sacrifice a bit and like switch to a minor. So it's possible. It just depends on like what your priorities are.
Okay, I'm gonna yeah. So what is the GPA requirement to get into Haas? When you should apply? I think that's most asked questions.
Yeah, I don't think there's like a strict GPA requirement. The kind of like loose one is like I've heard like 3.6 and 3.8. Like I think really the strategy for most kids is to take like relatively like easier classes and load up on your like I forgot what they're called, like the special requirement classes like arts and culture and like um social sciences, that kind of stuff, and like early on, and then you'll have like a higher GPA, and then you can take like more difficult classes after like you've gone through the Haas process. But yeah, I wouldn't like worry too much if you're like a student that has like not like as high of a GPA as you want. Like there's a lot of other things that they look at for a kid because they want like someone who is well-rounded holistically, right? And I think more than anything, what matters is like your essays and your writing and your ability to effectively communicate who you are as a person.
Yeah, thank you for letting us know. So all the students there, so the writing does not stop at the college application.
No, yeah. Writing is really big in the Haas application process and being able to like effectively communicate.
Okay, that's great. Well, we have Miss Pang's writing classes for the summer camp. A few spots already taken. Oh, 8 spots. So I'll take a chance to advertise the summer programs at Hattie. Okay. So Allyson and graduate school. People, you know, I have this whole thing. You know, I'm an amateur counselor. I have 1 student a year. I used to be in high tech, and now we have, you know, Hattie. We have professional counselor. And sometimes I tell parents, oh, if you go to pre-med and don't go to Berkeley and Cornell, the GPA is an issue because they really look at it, right? For application. So when you apply for regular graduate schools, what is your view? Can you get a good GPA at Berkeley to apply for other schools? You got into Harvard, got into Yale. So yeah, we'll hear your sharing.
Yeah. So first, I also applied to law school. So my best friend is attending medical school. So I know a little bit that for law school and medical school, they are aware that Berkeley has great deflation. In Berkeley, if you can do 3.6, you can probably do 3.9 at Harvard, because I've never heard anyone from Harvard that has a 3.8 or below GPA. So grad school committees really, they know what's going on and they know Berkeley's average GPA. And I think what's more important in grad school admission is you show, if you really didn't do well in your first 2 years, you show like an upward trend in your GPA, and grad school really values that, and they pay more attention to things like upper division classes, electives, because they're more kind of related to your research area. Say if you didn't do well in math 1A, like people usually feel like they didn't do well and they're screwed, but they're not. So it matters more if you can get better grades later on in more specialized classes and in your particular research interest. So I wouldn't worry too much. And also I would say it's more important in year 4, year 3, as compared to like year 1 immediately. A lot of students don't have a good GPA their first semester in, but don't think that you can't get into grad school if you didn't do well in your first semester.
Okay, that's great. Similar, I've been telling to high school students, if you made some mistake in 9th grade, UC does not look at your GPA in 9th grade. Yeah, some private schools do, but UC does it, right? So upward mobility, okay, and the progress is very important. That's very encouraging. Okay, so let me see what other questions we have. Okay, I have now the CS now. It's very complex issue. So I'm gonna ask. We have a couple cultural questions. I think before a couple of you leaving. CS, Junna, you are CS students, but you enter. So now everybody's like, okay, I apply CS in letter science. Do you automatically become a CS students when you're letter in science?
No, definitely not. So for I think everybody that applies to letters in science, you get admitted as undeclared, and you have to declare your major in letters in science. So the same thing applies for CS. There's like three main courses that you have to take in order to declare, and those are CS 61A, 61B, and CS 70. But I do think they're changing the declaration policies, not next year, but the year after that.
Okay, so everybody here, you get in. My son applied for CS, and both of them, they are not automatic CS students. You have to take that 3 classes. Well, you can get in, become a history major. You apply for history. You can still take that 3 CS classes, right, Junna?
Yeah. Anybody can take those classes.
Anybody can take those classes. That's the beauty of Berkeley. Okay, letter and science. Okay, Kyle, you're in ECS. Okay, share with us what's your experience of pursuing CS. Do you have a CS minor or just ECS overall?
It's just an ECS major, so we get it's combined into one. Okay. And for us, we go in already declared as ECS. The only way we can possibly get kicked out is if we have below a 2.0, which is, I think, like you're basically failing at that point. The good thing about ECS is we have like priority registration for CS classes, so there's always reserved seats. So especially for the upper div classes, like the super hot ones like artificial intelligence, machine learning, if you're not an ECS or a CS major and you are like a history major or whatever, you might not be able to take that class.
Okay, I see. So you need to declare CS major to enjoy the upper level advanced classes.
Declared CS major to have priority registration to basically be able to almost like guarantee your spot in one of these upper div classes.
Okay, that's good. Okay, thank you. That's, you guys are a little bit more relaxed than 2.0, and here Junna has 2, and my son had to like get, I don't know, 3.6 or 3 point something, right? Well, what's the number?
3.3 out of the 3 courses.
B+, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, B plus. Oh, that's hard. B plus is hard. What's the percentage, Junna? Do you know?
That declare CS? I feel like somewhere I read it was like around half maybe, which I feel like makes sense because the 2 lower division courses are curved to a B plus ish, and then not really curved, but like binned. And then the third one is either a B or a B plus, I forget.
Okay. Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, half. Okay. So I'm going to switch gear a little bit, asking Meghan, and I will ask Caroline as well about weed. Welcome to California. I know there are a lot of out-of-state parents. They're worried. Any issue with the weed? Do you smell marijuana when in the dorm? I did many years ago at Cornell, so I know weed was an issue 30 years ago, right? So, Meghan, go ahead.
I would say yes, you probably will smell it around at certain places. I personally do not smoke weed. And like it was like a little shocking the first time I visited Berkeley because I was in high school visiting my brother who was there, and like I was like, what is the smell? Like I had never smelled it before. So it was like my first time. I don't know if it's like I personally don't find it as a big concern. You'll probably smell it if you go to like maybe like frat houses at parties. Technically in dorms, I believe most of the dorms or I don't know if it's all dorms, it's not allowed technically by like RAs if they do smell it. Like I think they will report it or something along those lines. But I don't think it's going to be like just because if like I'm guessing what parents are concerned about is that if kids are around this environment, they're going to start smoking, I guess, is probably the big concern, I imagine. I don't really think like I would say there's no like peer pressure personally. I mean, obviously it's up to the student yourself, like what you decide to do. But I would say like if you're in a right friend group and you have friends who do like smoke, like if they are the right people, they're not going to be pressuring you to do that. If they're not the right friend group, or maybe you learn that they aren't the right friend group through that experience as well. But yeah, that's kind of what my 2 cents on it.
Okay. It's really up to you, right?
Yeah. I really don't think like there are people around me who do smoke, and also I guess drinking is like another thing. But I don't feel peer pressure to do that. I personally have felt like I found a good community though on campus, like whether it be my friends in clubs or my friends outside of clubs, like I've never had a peer pressure issue like that, even though some of them may do that.
Okay, I see. Caroline, you're in business. Well, business people are a little bit more more liberal than engineers. Go ahead. What about
Yeah. I mean, I think at any college you're going to find like the opportunity to like drink and like smoke or like I don't know, to ingest weed in any way that you want. And like in a way, like that's part of the college experience if that's something you want. And I think it's important for parents to understand that the reality may be that that's something that your kid wants to try out, and that's just part of like I don't know, their entry into adulthood or their exploration process. And that doesn't make them like any worse of a person or any less likely to be successful, right? I think also there needs to be a certain amount of trust in your kid that they know what they're doing. And even when they explore like this, um, like they're still like your kid at the end of the day, and they're still going to work really hard and like are a good person. Um, like drinking is like a big aspect of American college culture. I feel like it's also like a big aspect of like I don't know Chinese banquet culture, and I don't think like weed has been scientifically proven to not be any more damaging than like the effects of alcohol, right? So like yeah, Berkeley is in California. California has legalized weed at age 21, and um uh there's like places where you can get like weed, but like it doesn't make it any more of an immoral place or make your kid more at risk of like failing in life, you know. I would just like encourage parents to like have like faith in your kid.
Thank you. Have faith in your students. Have faith in your kid. Okay, that's great. Okay, so I'm going to change a little bit of gear. I don't know whether I covered international students. I know, Carolyn, you're not international student. Allyson, any of you are international students that when you attend Berkeley as an international student? I just want to making sure the parents getting good support, like you have good support. Okay, so how about just as a student, do you get like, so here's my son is choosing like among different school, and one of schools USC, and it's like, okay, they pamper you, they take care of you. Are Berkeley students taken care of, or are you really on your own? Can you see your counselor if you have a question? Can you talk to the department admin? Okay, Kyle, do you want to answer that question?
Within EEC, students are very well taken care of. I don't know if they're necessarily the same about College of Letters and Science. Generally, like we have a lot of resources, like with like career fairs, counselors, all that stuff. It's pretty easy to, you know, book an appointment to talk to your counselor. But, you know, obviously compared to like a private school, you can't really compare, right? You got to compare apples to apples. But I haven't had any issues in regards to like getting the help I need, whether that be with course work or like internships or whatever. I think Berkeley does a great job preparing students to be successful.
Okay, that's great. Okay, Allyson, you've been there. I know you're taking care right now as a PhD student, right? How about undergraduate student?
I would say undergraduate students, it's like half on you, the student, and half on like the school. I would say systematically, the school does have enough like student advisors and counselors to answer your questions. And I did like volunteer as a peer mentor for international students as well, because I speak Chinese. And I think most international students can quickly find a community and can talk to their like advisors. So it's also important to remember, for example, I was in the College of Letters and Science. The College of Letters and Science have college advisors. Those are people who may not know your major that well, but they're like seeing the overarching academic plan for your 3 or 4 years. And then there are major like departmental student advisors. For example, in the Chinese studies department, they have like an undergraduate student advisor. Sometimes undergrads also have faculty advisors. So these are people who are more knowledgeable about like your specific major requirements when it gets to like 3rd, 4th year. And I would say most people find it like College of Letters and Science advisors a little bit discouraging, but for like individual majors, those advisors are very helpful, and there are definitely enough resources. It's also like, don't be afraid to ask for help, because if you say, I'm struggling with this, I want more resources, more referrals to people who can talk with me, then they will give you resources. And there are also free tutoring in the Student Learning Center. So I definitely think there is enough support. It's just like the responsibility is also on the student to find them.
Okay. So basically you're saying that as students of public schools, a big public school like Berkeley, when you are on the campus, you will be able to find resources that the parents, as a parachuting parent, I don't have to worry and ask other parents and I call, you guys will be able to, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Let's delve into one question about CS. 2,000 students in the class, 61A, 61B, 70A. Oh my gosh. How this handled at Berkeley, Junna?
Okay, yeah. So I took 61A my freshman year, and the way the class size was pretty big. I was really shocked the first day of class because we have this huge auditorium, and that's where our first lecture was held, and it was filled and people were sitting on the stairs too. So I got there and I was like, oh my God, what the heck? But I think the way it's handled is really, really like efficiently, I guess. They have a team of UGSIs and TAs and all that stuff. And they'll hold discussion sections. Like there's a really, really wide variety of them, and you sign up for one. And those are like, I guess, like you just go over the content, you go over the discussion worksheets that are provided with your UGSIs, and those have around like maybe 20 people, I want to say. But as the semester goes on, like the number of people kind of shrink. And then you also sign up for a lab section, and that's when you go and finish like lab assignments. So there's like discussion worksheets, and there's lab assignments, and there's also homework. And then during those lab sections, you also have a UGSI that's kind of overseeing everything, kind of around the same amount of people too. And so I think those are just kind of smaller sections where you can get more help if you want. And if you want even more, the professors hold office hours, and so do all of the UGSIs. So I think there's always like help if you want it. Like, I don't think there's really been times where I couldn't get help, unless like for some of the larger courses, it's like a project deadline is coming up. And sometimes the lines for those office hours have gotten a little long, but I think that might also be a little bit because of the current online format, because previously these office hours were like held in person, and students would be in one room, and like students could help each other. But now obviously students aren't in one room, so you're kind of on your own until like UGSI comes and like answers your question. So I think it's definitely a little better in person. But yeah, you don't have to really worry too much about these like huge numbers. There's help if you need it.
Okay, that's great. Okay, we're just 2 minutes over. So Meghan and Allyson, I know you guys have a previous engagement. I will let you guys go, because next couple questions is really about internship. So I think a little bit of related business and CS related. So Allyson and Meghan, thank you so much. I know you have a hard stop. Really appreciate. We have contact. You have email, phone number to each other, and let's keep in touch. And when I come to Berkeley to visit, if you guys have time, I will take you guys out for lunch or dinner. Okay, we meet in person. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll let you two go. And there are a couple questions. I needed the other three to stay for a few more minutes. Thank you, Meghan. Thank you, Allyson, for your time. Thank you. Okay. So the question is about internship. I know because CS, I know Junna is interning with us, and you have another internship lined up. In the summer, you have 2 interns, right? And then Carolyn, Kyle, you guys landed the dream job, a most desired job as a fresh graduate. McKinsey, oh my gosh, everybody want to go to McKinsey and Goldman Sachs. So I want to hear from both of you a little bit about how you have accumulated enough experience to land the job at the graduation. Okay, so maybe Kyle?
So I guess I came into college really motivated, I guess, to try really hard. So that first semester, my freshman fall, I spent a lot of time, recruiting. I think that first semester I applied to over 200 positions at 80 companies. And so I was able to land a Fortune 500 company internship my freshman summer. I think that really helped me a lot recruiting my sophomore year. So sophomore fall was my favorite semester of recruiting because, I actually got interviews and stuff. I didn't just get rejected straight out. But I think with CS and engineering recruiting, you just have to do a lot of problems, right? So like you got to do leak code for CS, and if you're math or whatever, brush up on your competition math. And that really helps you shine through in your technical interviews. And I think a lot of the other aspect to it that a lot of EECS kids get stuck on is a personal interview, right? Like they don't want you to be a robot. You have to have a personality, and you have to be able to work as a team. They don't necessarily want the best programmer. They want the best fit for the team. And that's something that's often overlooked. So I think with those two in mind, it helped me land a bunch of good internships my sophomore year. And I ultimately decided to choose Goldman Sachs rather than go work in tech.
Wow, 200 applications. hats off to you. You're very determined. You were very, very determined. Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, Caroline, what's your story?
Yeah. So I think there's like not one single pathway to like if you want to go into consulting. The nice thing about it is that like you don't have to be a business student to go in. Like a lot of engineers pivot into it if they decide that like that's like engineering isn't like the right path for them, or like various like humanities majors. So that's like one of the cool parts of consulting. My personal path, similar to what Kyle said, getting an internship as a freshman or sophomore is really difficult. Like most people don't want you because you don't have any job experience, but like how do you get job experience without job experience? So I ended up just my freshman year interning at this like random startup in my hometown for free for like 4 hours a day, and it was like pretty nice because then I just spent the rest of the time hanging out with my friends. And I honestly think that like your freshman to sophomore first summer, I wouldn't put so much pressure on yourself to get like an amazing internship. Like I think if you do something that's like really cool and genuinely aligned with what you're interested in and is not necessarily like pure like work or internship related, like that also reflects really well to companies, like showing that you're an interesting and passionate person. So I would think about that. My sophomore year summer, again, applied to like a bunch of places. Didn't hear back from a ton, but I ended up working at United, and as like I was part of the team that prices like the flights to Asia and Australia. So that was like really interesting. And then, but I really think that like what makes the biggest difference is like case prep. So I spent that entire summer preparing for the interviews that were coming up for consulting internships in the fall. And I think having that kind of discipline and having a good support system of finding other students who are also kind of working towards that same goal makes a huge difference in the like how you perform in the consulting interview process. So I would say like, I don't know, if you're like a freshman in high school right now or like still relatively young, don't worry about this stuff right now. Like you can always like put in the time when the time comes, which is around like sophomore, early junior year, to start working towards getting like the consulting internship if that's the path you want to go down.
Okay, that's good. Consulting was very hot when I was out of school. my first interview was actually given by a consulting company. Now was bought by, I think, one of the four big fours. Yeah, and it's still very hot. It's amazing. Yeah, I think it's probably kind of promote or cultivate all different kinds of skills, analytical, all kinds of skills that consulting job prepares you for a very diverse background. Okay, so Junna, your sophomore, you already got your first like full-time internship in the summer, have a part-time teaching with us, which teaching is not a priority for most top school students, but you decided to take this. Please share a little bit of insight from why you are doing it.
Oh, okay. So I'm doing, you mean like the teaching role, right? Yeah, okay. So I started this role this semester, and I just started it because I wanted to, I guess, learn a bit more about all the different like opportunities within CS itself, because CS is like a pretty huge field. And so I guess I'm teaching machine learning, and so I just really wanted to learn a little bit more about that and get a little bit more involved. And then the summer came around, and then I found out about this opportunity, and I guess I just really wanted to take it because I just want to continue what I'm doing right now. I think it's like really fun, and teaching the students is pretty fun too, just kind of interacting with them. They're all really interesting too. So yeah, I think it's more of a personal thing, just like personal enjoyment, and it aligns with like what I want to be doing right now.
That's great. Yeah, we do have quite a few Berkeley students, UCLA students, Stanford, Harvard, Queen's University from Canada that been teaching with us. So if any of your friends who want to pursue STEM education, which my son also, I think is a minor in education or double major in education, I think it's quite interesting because you can know everything you know, and it's very difficult to get the same concept to convey it to younger students. So anyway, I'm doing some job advertisement here for internship. If you guys are interested, we have CE and machine learning teaching, internships available in the summer. Okay, that's about it. We're about 10 minutes past. Okay, last word you want to tell the accepted students. Congratulations to all of you. Go Bears. Caroline, what do you want to tell with your future students, class of 2025?
Yeah, well, first of all, congratulations. Berkeley's an amazing place to be. I think you should seriously consider it. I think in the beginning, like I personally struggled to make friends freshman year, but and it feels at times like everyone else is getting ahead of you in like social life and academically in their career. But you should know that like everyone is kind of like facing the same challenges you are, and even if things feel difficult at the time, like as you grow throughout your time at the school, like things will come together for you. Like you're gonna figure out what you want to do in life and your career. You're gonna find like the right social circle and like strong support network. So even when things get hard, like don't lose faith.
Thank you. Kyle.
Yeah, I guess first off, congratulations. I think Berkeley is a great school. I'm glad I ended up choosing it. I think, just take things one step at a time. For now, like finish up, make sure you graduate high school, and then enjoy your summer. But at the same time, get ready that, Berkeley is completely different than high school, and that there are a lot of challenges and there's a lot of growing up to do. And I think, just take things one step at a time, and obviously make friends with people who are older and be open to listen, because you don't want to make the same mistakes like people older than you did if you can avoid them. So just listen and always like have an open mind, I guess.
Thank you, Kyle. Junna.
Okay, yeah, so like the other two said, congratulations. I'm really glad that I chose Berkeley, even though I was really debating on whether I should choose it in the beginning. But I guess like some of the things that I really like about Berkeley or that are more unique to my experience, I guess, are that like at first I thought that like I would be in danger and then like I would have trouble making friends, but really that those two weren't the case. I think I was really fortunate in my freshman semester to join the two clubs that I did, and I made a bunch of friends through them. I also got to know a lot more senior or older students, and I think that really helped guide me throughout like my time so far here. So definitely, yeah, make a lot of friends. And yeah, I think it's been a really fun time. I still like keep in touch with a lot of the friends that I made first semester. So yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So I think lastly, I was sitting too low. I will show my cow. Where's my cow? Okay. Here's my, okay. I was the only one who's wearing, I think. So the Berkeley gear. Anyway, so thank you all. Thank you, three of you, and then the two other guest speakers for your valuable time and great sharing. And feel free to connect with each other, connect me on LinkedIn, and we'll keep in touch. Thanks again. And I think we're going to end this event.